us for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome to the Washington Township Zoning Board of Appeals February meeting. We have, before we take roll call, well, why don't we do roll call first?
Oh, that would be me.
That's you. Secretary Mylan?
Okay, thank you. Ms. Hall?
Here.
Mr. Pollack?
Here.
Mr. Pullen?
Here.
Kayla, I'm just going to say hello to you. And Mr. Colsall?
Here.
And Dana, I'll say hello to you as well. All present.
All right, and I'd like to welcome Lisa Hall to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Welcome.
Thank you.
She's coming from the Planning Commission, so she'll be the liaison between us and the Planning Commission, and has some extensive background in planning, and gives a lot of time, because this is not, requires a lot of time, especially on the Planning Commission side, and then decide you're not done yet, you want to come over here and spend some time with us as well. So we appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, and then Dana Birschbeck is also with us, and Kayla Mullen will be joining us as well. Can I get an approval of the agenda?
I'll make the approval. Motion.
Can I get a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from December 1st, 2025?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of December 1st, 2025.
Secretary
I'll
Mullen.
support it, but I have one minor correction on there.
Right?
Bob Senko, he actually, his last meeting was in November. And then the December 1st meeting states that he was, like he had an excused absence. So he's not really an official member at that meeting.
I don't know if we had anything formally in writing by then, but
We did not.
yeah, so that's why it was written that way. I didn't receive anything, or it wasn't received.
Well, if nothing was received, then he's still a member of the board then.
So
Well,
when
it
did he-
was after that point, but
They were still in discussions at that moment.
yeah. That was my understanding, but I mean, I mean,
it doesn't matter with me, but just that I thought that when he resigned, it was in writing, and therefore he would have to be off of both of them. Okay, we'll just leave it at, that's fine.
Right?
I mean, I think you're probably right. I just think, well, we were told that it was being discussed.
Right.
I would like to honor the resignation letter so that Mr. Sacco's record is impeccable and doesn't have an absence. I think that's what you're trying to say.
Right.
I think we should make the changes to the meeting. So I would make a motion to change the meeting minute, or in fact, if you want to make that motion, I'll second it.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. So he was not absent. All in favor of approving the minutes with the change?
Aye.
All right, any correspondence?
None?
none.
And we'll move on with the order of business of election of officers.
I make a motion to nominate Troy Sokol for the ZBA chairman for a term ending January 31st through the 27th.
All right, motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, I accept. I'll make a motion for Lisa Hall to be appointed as Vice Chair. Thank you.
I'll second that.
I'll accept.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
you.
Thank you. Happy to have you.
Yep, come aboard.
And finally, Secretary Mylan, is that an appointed position, or is that, you make a motion for Michelle Mylan to be the secretary?
Should be a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right. And support. All in favor?
Aye.
Accept.
You accept? After we voted?
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, that would be awkward, I guess. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, on to old business. This is for, back from last month, January 1st, Washington Township zoning ordinance, Article 3.0, zoning district, section 3.18, front yard setback requirements. A, front and street side setbacks shall be measured from the center line of each road, right-of-way, secondary road, 110 feet, which would be 31 Mile Road. There was a revision of the request to 30 feet of variance from the front yard setback off 31 Mile Road. The prior request was 44 feet, so this is a reduction of 14 feet. The parcel number is 240412200018, the location the southeast corner of 31 Mile Road in Powell. All right, do we have the applicant here? Please approach the podium, please. State your name and address.
Good evening.
Hi.
My name is Albert. And then, as you guys remember from the last time, so we actually was with my actually a couple times with my architect, try to minimize those setbacks as much as we can. And actually, we planned to be here with her today, but she has some with her daughter. She was in the hospital or something, so she was not able to make it. So. And then because she's told me I can come with you and try to explain stuff as we want that house, it's that lot there is very a, let's say, weird shape, to make the house probably we was looking about 3,500 square feet, and now she's 3,200, 33, whatever as much as we can get, but that she said that's the best we can do because it's 30, I believe 37 feet wide, and long it's enough, but it's not wide enough, which she's no way we can have a good ranch there as actually we want it, because it's very less foot. It looks like she's gonna look if we follow those setbacks, she's gonna look like a barn. She's it's very usual. The law, the setbacks basically. So that's.
I think it definitely is a unique lot that you purchased.
I'm sorry?
Definitely a unique lot that you purchased at that location. Do you know how big the house plans that you're currently looking at building?
It's 3,300 right now, a ranch.
We were looking at some of this. Is that right?
The plans that I have in front of me were for a 5,600 square foot house
Right.
with a width of 64 feet.
50. Would that include the backyard? Because it's going to be like a cover, which a porch basically. What not porch, but the backyard of the house. Because I told her she we don't want really deck basically. It's better to have a covered, because we just try to do it once and that's all. So that's what she was trying to in the plan, if you to have a cover with a roof basically, the back of the house. Just for barbecue and stuff like that. So
Yeah, so that's excluding the deck section that was shown, but the plans we received didn't have the interior floor plan. It only had the exterior, so it marks it as the house. So just the house portion, we saw 5,600, requesting that variance of, what are we at, 30 feet now for the setback, with the 2 attached garages and then the deck around the back.
right.
Okay, so that's the
That's
plan
2
that you're
garage, yeah,
referring to.
2 garages on the side, because she's if we try to make it garages that's just one side, it's going to be very less, place basically from the front door, which the house is going to face the Powell Road. And then that's why actually, we was moving, try to move things from one side to others, but if we get those, for example, less than that footage, because he showed me the rooms is going to be probably just all the way in the end, or very weird shape with that, because that's we we won the house basically. So because she tried to move left and right, and actually we're working on with her, and I swear she was she did her best, but she's it's going to be too long, probably it's going to go I don't know, like 40 feet or 50, which it'll be like a barn, like all the way, like long way. So, I mean, we don't want that at all because, I mean, for example, I mean, we know like how much money is to build a house right now, and to have something like we don't really like it. I mean, it's, you know.
Have you had a chance to talk to Macomb County Road? Talk to them?
No. I called them one day, and actually I was trying to meet one day with I believe the supervisor here. I just talked on the phone, but he was very busy before the new year and after New Year.
I mean, for me, your lot is unique, but the situation is not unique enough to go against the variances that are, and the rules that are there. I mean, if we start to go yes to yours, we'd have to do that to every single person. You're going to be completely out of line with everybody else on 31 Mile. And you don't meet any of the qualifications that say this. Just because you want that size house, it doesn't make it work. So for that reason, I can't support this motion at all. I'm so sorry. I feel for your position.
I think, do you feel you're restricted right now in that, is there a reason why you submitted a ranch-style house and not maybe one with a second level?
To be honest with you, like, I mean, this is, for, like, me personal, I didn't have that, like, for example, that, I mean, I really want a ranch, like, but my wife, she really wants, like, a ranch to have, like, one house there for a while, I mean, to raise all of our children in the future and just to live there. Because, like, two-story, we was actually, like, 2 years ago looking for houses, and I swear, like, nowhere, like, we try, I mean, like, in the area, because we're allowed to live in Washington Township, because, I mean, other places we can probably find, like, some ranch, but all of them, like, was, like, two-story, and she don't like it, like, in two stories, so that's why, I mean, we bought the land, because with two-story, I mean, like, probably was living in now, but we was just trying to get, like, to build a ranch as, like, I mean, we like it too. That's our plan, you know. But
With the building department too, he had a concern that you could build a smaller house, okay? But if you did do that, there'd be no room for future decks or pools, which I think you wanted to have a pool.
I mean, for myself, and even, I mean, we discussed that with the architect, with my wife, both of them, we don't want the pool, but the deck, like I said, that's our plan, like, to have it covered and to build it once and never have a problem, like, to redo it, the deck and whatever, outside the house and stuff like that, so that's our plan. But for the pool, I mean, we don't like it. We have some, like, I mean, some problem, like back in the day with our family, like wherever the kids fell in the pool, and which we don't want that anymore.
Would you consider building a smaller house, a smaller ranch?
I'm sorry?
Would you consider building a smaller ranch to fit the property?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that's what we was looking for before, like, I mean, to have those square feet, like 3,500, like to have, like, wherever, like 4 rooms as a big family, but that's our plan. So, because, like, we was actually, like, trying to go back and forth, because my father is old. I mean, of course, he wants a room on the first floor, and even for my wife and kids, let's say in the future, like 2 rooms, and after that, like, she told, I mean, us, like you have 2 rooms there. I mean, let's say, I mean, try to get another 2 rooms on the other side, and even the front or in the back. That's our plan was, but that's what we try.
One of the other concerns that our DPW director brought up was that on both sides of the street, there's a water main that borders both those sides.
Right.
And without getting input from Macomb County on their plans for that road in the master plan, very difficult to say just 14 more feet is something that's feasible to do with that roadway there.
Because that's, like, the thing, like, I mean, like I said, like, we was, like, with the architect there too, and we took some measurement, which, like, just to see, like, I mean, where's the water lines run, and, like, where's the house, for example, is gonna, like start, whatever the builder structure is, start building, which she's like, I mean, she's like, probably it will be good, it's probably not, you know, I'm like, I mean, she's not her, like, decision at that point, but she was just trying to see, like, if it, like, I mean, like, you know, like makes sense, basically, because those actually corners, I mean, I didn't know from the beginning, but those type of corners that really have a problem with the setbacks, because if we see across the street, the neighbor, they have like probably 45 feet from the center lines that they build, because, I mean, that's the shape of the land, because like both sides, that's how far basically they let you to build. Because across the neighbors, I mean, one day actually he told me like, we're like in 45 feet setbacks from the center of the line, 46, I believe, that's what she.
Did we talk about last meeting about possibly, since you want this house as large as it is there a possibility to go back? Is there any land behind you that
So,
you can buy onto if you want this 5,600 square foot home?
so the thing is, like the shape, for example, like
I see
either
the
way,
ways.
if we face the 31 mile, that's not enough at all, because I mean, that's the problem with the land. But right now we face in Powell Road, which is long enough, but it doesn't matter, because like from the front, right now we're starting like more than actually we require, like 110 feet, which we like, but the thing is, it's not a problem the long way. The problem is the width, like from 31 mile, because the neighbor will have just 30, we have to start there and try to get like to 31. Because if we go back, doesn't really change anything. Like if we go back, like, so like she's like, if you try like to follow that line, they're gonna go like probably like 160 feet with 37 feet, and the house will look like a ranch. And she's like, I mean, I can't make any like house like that's what you guys basically wanted. Like it's gonna be just a long way, like a barn, right? You know, because it's long enough, but it's not. The lot is like 150 feet or more, actually more, like to build. But this is just 37 feet like width, like that. It's so less basically. So
basically, this revised meeting today, you changed it from 44 feet to 30 feet.
right, which the new setbacks from 110, I believe they're going to be like 80 or something.
Yes,
She told
You
me.
didn't have a chance to talk to Macomb County. We know there's a water main going in there. They need right away. Spot.
Any more questions? We want to open it up to public comments?
Yeah, I make a motion for public.
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Now, on this new computer, where is the motions?
Public comment?
I think
Well,
he has
I have to read
he
it
has to read
first.
this first. To open it up.
Where did they put it? Dana, do you know where the actual motion? The
Should be right in.
apologize
Should
for this.
be in the cover sheet. Is it? Sorry.
Touch screen. There we go.
Should we open the public hearing?
All right. Reopen the public hearing. Notice of Washington Township for parcel 66970, Washington Township. Zoning ordinance, Article 3.0, zoning district, Section 3.18, front yard setback requirements. A, front and street side setbacks shall be measured from the center line of each right-of-way, secondary road 110 feet, 31-mile road, with a revision of 30 feet variance request from the front yard setback of 31-mile road. The applicant has submitted revised drawings to reflect a lesser variance request from what you viewed at the December 1st ZBA meeting. The prior request was for a setback measuring 66 feet from the center line of 31-mile road, making the variance that was requested 44 feet. The revised request is for a setback measuring 80 feet from the center line of 31-mile road, making the variance request 30 feet. The public hearing was closed on December 1st at the ZBA meeting. However, if there are any comments from the public based on the revised information submitted, you can bring those up now. Anybody from the public? Once, twice. All right, I'll make a motion to close.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone?
Chair, just one correction for the motion template, the address and the parcel number. If you can,
Yes.
whoever's, yeah, so just
66970 Powell Road, Washington Township, Michigan. This is for parcel number 24-04-12-200-018, which is the southeast corner of 31 Mile Road and Powell Road.
And then in the template for the motion, just make sure it reflects that, since it was a carryover from 31.
Okay? Okay. Any other questions? All right, and I'll make a motion to deny the request made for 6350 31 Mile Road, parcel number 2404091000. Is that the wrong?
That's-
No, I'm back here. All right, parcel number 240412200018. To deny the request, all right, for variance, Article 3.0 zoning district, section 3.18, front yard setback requirements, alpha front and street side setbacks shall be measured from the center line of each road right of way in accordance with the Township Master Plan designation and the Road Commission of Macomb County as follows: secondary road, 110, 31 Mile Road, and not allow the applicant to construct a single-family resident home that is set back 80 feet from the center line of 31 Mile Road. The zoning ordinance requires a front yard setback to be a minimum of 110 feet measured from the center line of the road, making the variance that is requested 30 feet. The decision was based on the criteria as outlined in the Washington Township zoning ordinance section 7.9E, Zoning Board of Appeals, variance review procedures. 1, practical difficulty. Strict enforcement does not create a hardship that deprives the applicant of a reasonable use of the property. As stated, their site contains 6,320 square feet of buildable envelope that meets all minimum A1 zoning requirements. And while the applicant has reduced the request, it still doesn't meet the requirements. Unique circumstance, I do believe this lot is irregular in a corner parcel, and the parcel does have dual road frontages of Powell Road and 31 Mile Road that both require the 110-foot setback. These factors significantly restrict the building area and is not common to most A1 parcels. As far as self-created, the lot shape and setbacks existed prior to the purchase. However, the applicant is seeking a larger building envelope for a preferred house design, not because the ordinance prohibits reasonable use. Choosing a ranch-style footprint does not constitute a non-self-created hardship. Special privilege, granting the setback where neighboring homes maintain the 110-foot setback from 31 Mile Road may confer a special privilege, as a home could be built that would meet these setback requirements. A home could be built meeting them of 3,844 square feet with the 34-foot width. Moreover, this would infringe on Macomb County Department of Roads planned right-of-way. Therefore, as far as the spirit and intent, a reduced setback conflicts with the master plan and the 120-foot planned right-of-way for 31 Mile Road. With a reduced 44-foot setback, only 28 feet from my calculations would remain between the home and the future right-of-way, leaving inadequate room for the required 16-inch water main, future roadway widening, sidewalks and pathways, and drainage and utilities.
Support.
Correction, though, on the parcel ID, he said 10 at the tail end, it's 018.
Yep, and
Thank
then
you.
the address is 66970 Powell Road, just for,
What a day.
sorry.
Okay. All right, so I made a motion. No supported. Negative roll call.
Mr. Colsall?
Yes to deny.
Mr. Polad?
Yes to deny.
Mr. Pollak?
Yes, to
Mylum, yes. Ms. Hall?
Yes to deny.
I'm sorry. All right, moving on to new business. This is unique in that we have 6 items for the same property. So I'm going to read the first one, and we'll take them in order. However, you can talk about the site plans and what you're proposing, and we'll ask questions about all of them, because many of them are tied to each other. So I'll read the first one, new business. This is for Stonecrest of Washington LLC, Washington Township zoning ordinance, Article 3.0 zoning district, section 3.1.11, general commercial. D, development standards, setbacks, minimums, rear yard setbacks adjacent to residential. This is for parcel number 24-04-14-100-010. The location is vacant land east side of Van Dyke and is south of 30 Mile Road.
So could we have a little sidebar conversation for a second before we go further with all of these? Dana, did you want to talk about the fact that in 10 minutes, this is going to be, our ordinance is going to be changing? Should we talk about that?
I think in Kayla's review, there's a few of them that,
Right, but I didn't know if we wanted to put it on public records, like, because everybody doesn't read our board packet. Should we talk about that?
Sorry,
well,
am I up to speed?
well, they'll be adopted once we bring everything. There's certain provisions in there that will be,
Okay, are you asking about the landscaping ordinances and?
Just like, I knew that this project had several things that if the applicant had a little more time, it would fall into our new rules that we plan on implementing. So I just thought instead of having everybody explain it all away, we might be able to jump through hoops a little quicker tonight to say, we know in 10 minutes this is going to be our new way of doing business forward anyways.
So I can touch on that, and my letter highlights some of those things. We can bring it up on each, because each variance request will have to be considered separately with a separate public hearing. But what Secretary Milam is saying is that there are a few zoning ordinance amendments that have gone before the Planning Commission that apply to this specific application. And the only thing is those haven't gone through public hearing yet. So they're not imminent for the board. Sometimes when we have applications that come to the ZBA, there are zoning ordinance amendments that are already in process for going to the board for adoption. That is not the case with those ordinance amendments, but I did just want to let the ZBA know that the Planning Commission has discussed those items. The main thing is the landscaping ordinance amendments. And so I talk about those in depth and some of the issues that we've seen with landscaping ordinances over the past year, with being able to meet, in particular, the building landscaping, that 7-foot width right around the building's perimeter. The Planning Commission was really supportive of those changes, but we made the decision a few months ago to hold those amendments until we bring them forward at the same time as planned unit development amendments. So they haven't gone through public hearing or public process yet.
Are you able to talk about a few of them? Sorry, we're just trying to make this job a little bit easier.
Yeah.
As far as, if I go through the 6 that are requested, as far as minimum rear yard setbacks, is there anything that you see or that they're discussing about the setbacks, or is it the landscaping, which is the 3rd variance,
Yes, so
4th variance?
this relates to variance 3, some of the parking lot landscaping. Variance 4, the parking lot screening. And then variance 5, the building landscaping. Variance 6 as well. There were a few changes to the major greenbelt screening, but not too much that affects this because that was dealing primarily with tree species.
Okay.
and the reason why we are holding off to group everything together is because they all, if we just were to adopt all those ordinances, then we would have some inconsistencies throughout. So that was the reason why the Planning Commission, we're holding it until we get everything, so it's all complete.
Makes sense. It's just, this family's owned this land a long time, and this is a nice win for the family. So I want to make sure that we do everything we can to help them close out their land in the proper manner.
All right, thank you. All right. Can you please state your name, address, and tell us a little bit about the project?
Yeah. Good evening. I'm John DeLisla. I'm with Nowak and Fraus. Prepared the drawings for this site, original site plan, and then also prepared the documents for the variances that we're requesting tonight. And you're aware of the history on this, but if we go all the way back to the split of the property and looking at how Parcel Explorer with the county even, expresses the site, it almost wanted to be, 205 feet deep from the existing right-of-way. Instead, it's from the center line of the road. So that really causes a problem on the depth of the lot. Traditional retail, does want to be, 25 to 30 feet wide per unit and 90 feet in depth, and that allows, retail use to, have the electrical, plumbing, storage, all of that, fire risers in the back, and then their business up in the front. This one is challenging, it basically turns that sideways, but it still fronts on Van Dyke, and of course, we did give an example of the intent, which is a current center design, a nice one, with the brick facade and the glass that wraps each side. So that's the intent. Not, entirely excited about the depth of the building, but we believe we can work with this, and if you're favorable to the variances that we're requesting. But we're welcome to talk through each one if you'd like.
What's the total width on the buildings? You said each one 25 to 30 feet wide, and the total width that because it looks like 2 units in.
Yeah, so your depth would be the equivalent to the width in this unique situation. And we're 53 feet roughly from front to back, 90 feet in length. The function of the space changes a little bit because this site is unique.
And with some of the changes that you were going to make, there are some apartments that were behind you there.
Yes. Yeah, there is some screening in place already with some large pines and some other trees. We do intend to keep those in place and just supplement with, it's a 2-foot berm and evergreen screening across just to facilitate that. We did not want to lose the drive behind the building just because it makes the flow of traffic a little bit simpler and more logical. I don't want to discourage anyone from coming in and having to fight with each other, backing in and out of spaces, and just having the one entrance. Facilitates deliveries, and we feel that we still have a nice setback and screening opportunity there to the east.
Do we have any questions at this time?
So the one entrance you're going to have, is it going to be more towards the car dealership, or is it going to be south of that? Because right now there's 2, right? You use the same driveway as the apartment complex behind you?
Yes.
So the other one's going to be eliminated?
The other one was put in, really, that is a part of the storage facility in the back. And there's a gravel drive that currently runs across this parcel that was intended to be in an easement south of this parcel.
So is that part of this parcel, that easement too, or no?
No, the easement is in this 30-foot space just south of our parcel, and that's where that drive was
All
intended
right,
to be
'cause
put.
I'm looking at the overhead picture that was sent to us, and it
Yeah.
encompasses that.
That's a rough
Okay,
location of the site,
Right.
whereas this is the actual.
okay. That road's been there a long time. That one to the right, to south. of it.
Yes, that gravel drive.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a supplementary access.
I think what kind of came to my mind when I saw this is that the building could be reduced. I know you wouldn't be able to get 2 units in there, but if it was reduced, you wouldn't need as many parking spots, you wouldn't need as many variance requests. And again, I feel like it could be used for commercial property.
Yeah,
It
and
could
that
fit
was,
into that space.
that was explored. This was originally proposed for 3 units, it's now down to 2, and I know if it went to 1, we wouldn't have a development.
There was some original plans that were submitted that did meet it, however, I think they didn't take into account the berm behind there.
Yeah, there was a number of things that it didn't include, including retailers' desire to have parking in the front of the building. That were, as we spoke to some potential users, that was a big sticking point. And yes, it did fail to have that dedicated, loading zone that was, away from the parking spaces, not a dual use, and several other things, the challenges with the septic field as well.
Chairman Kosel?
Yes.
For me, because we're in the commercial district, so we're not infringing on neighbors on either side. It's a road on either side, so if they go from 1 building to 2 buildings, if we're a little over, I don't see how we're infringing on anyone. Also, I like the idea personally of the building covering the front of it, because it's kind of not the best look, that open field that's been there for years that
Sure.
hasn't been maintained.
Can you talk a little bit about the vegetation that you are planning on, the screening that you're planning on putting in, either behind it where the apartment complexes are, or what you're looking to do for off Van Dyke Road?
Yes, and just looking at the rear of the property, you can see that, there are some trees that we're looking to save. There is an overhead utility corridor that we have to respect. But if we go with the evergreen screen, we would be able to fit in a approximate 2-foot berm, which we could plant on top of, and then run the length of that common property line to the east.
So this is one of the things that we wanted to clarify for the motion and for the ZBA board members. Within that major greenbelt screening, what is the exact variance that you're asking for? Is it just to reduce the height of that berm from the 3 feet to 2 feet? Or are you asking for a variance from some of the vegetation requirements as well?
Well, in the state at this time, exactly, what with drainage review and accommodation for this overhead, electrical, all of that would have to follow, but our goal is to come as close to adhering to that ordinance as possible. But a 3-foot berm is just simply not practical with what is there now. You really don't need a berm at all, but we would like to honor, the ordinance and look at that 2-foot berm option and simply plant across that. It would not be seen really by anybody. The majority of it would not be seen by anybody coming down Van Dyke. However, it would screen a little bit of that parking lot that is exposed on the multifamily piece. So I think there'd be a mutual benefit of actually screening our use from them and vice versa.
That's for variance number 6.
Sure. That's what, when I looked at that, currently the people that live behind there, they just look into a road. At least now they would be looking at a row of trees.
Sure.
So that actually, to me, and it could be a sound barrier for them in the future.
Now, is vegetation required or else a wall?
Excuse me, I didn't hear you.
Would vegetation be required or else could there be a wall?
Vegetation was required from what I read.
No, so the applicant has the choice. In the zoning ordinance for the major greenbelt screening, they can choose to do the 15-foot wide greenbelt buffer with a 3-foot high berm and 2 rows of evergreen trees. Or they can do the buffer with I believe it's 4-foot masonry wall. So they have the option to do whichever fits the site conditions best, and that was part of why we asked for that clarification in our letter.
So, but they're saying you wanted to do the green.
We wanted to do the green versus the wall, and we did look at the wall option, and that, we don't think we're going to be allowed to put foundations within that electrical corridor, and then I think everyone would probably prefer the green.
Absolutely. I know I would if I was looking at it.
thought we had water there. I guess we don't have water. They gotta have a septic field?
On the south side of the site,
Yeah, I
we're
see
proposing
that.
a septic field now.
Thought we had sewer there.
There may be a restriction on the type of trees that can go there depending on the overhead
See that?
Yeah.
wires, like the height and the species, so that they can't, like they have a fall zone and a clearance.
So your dumpster behind your place, where you're gonna put this, is kind of, we're located by their dumpsters over that area.
But we would have, the plantings carry through
Right.
there, and also on the west side of that dumpster, we'd have some greenery too.
Sewer over there.
Yeah.
Make it, this all go away. They have all the room we needed.
We want to see, we have some people who might be here for public comments. Do we want to open it up for public comments and see if, and then bring this back together?
Yeah, make a motion to open up public comment.
I support.
And this is just for the first request.
This
So you'll
is just
open
for
the
the
public
first,
hearing for each separately.
So this is for the first request, and I'll read it now. Notice of public hearing by Charter Township, Washington Township Zoning Board of Appeals. Notice is hereby given that the Washington Township Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Monday, February 2nd, 2026, at 6:30 PM at 57900 Van Dyke, Washington Township, Michigan, 48094, in the boardroom at the Washington Township Municipal Building. The purpose of this meeting is to consider an appeal by Stonecrest of Washington LLC, Mike Magnoli, 59227 Van Dyke, Washington Township, Michigan, 48094. By reason of Washington Township zoning ordinance, Article 3.0 zoning district, Section 3.1.11, general commercial D, development standards setbacks, minimum rear yard setback adjacent to residential, 50 feet. Washington Township zoning ordinance, Article 5.0, so that's just the first one. All right. Purpose of the request is to request the variance of the amount of 14.5 feet from the minimum 50-foot required rear yard setback. The property location is parcel 2404-100-010. It's the east side of Van Dyke, south of 30 Mile Road. All property owners within 300 feet are being notified. The public may participate in the meeting by attending in person or sending representatives. Published January 14th, 2026. Michelle Mylan, Secretary, Washington Township, ZBA. Is there anybody here from the public who wishes to speak? Sir, can you approach the podium, state your name and your address, please? Oh, at the podium, please, just for.
I'm the owner of the property.
Hi.
Been trying to sell it for years. It was split back in the 60s, the existing way it is now. So I have obviously no negative comments. I mean, I think it's a good idea. The building behind there is, it's a mess. And I think this is a much better look than what I'm looking at right now. But anyway, that's
Can you give us your first name again? Sorry.
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey Fritz. And can you give us your address as well?
64441 Van Dyke. I'm kind of across the street.
Okay.
Fritz Builders, Fritz Harlow.
Thank you.
And when we built those apartments, we were hoping they would never look like that. But when my dad passed away in '74, my mother decided to sell them, and apparently that's the way they almost look now. Just a mess.
Thank you. That's it? Do you have anything else?
That's it.
So in summary, he's owned the property a long time. He's tried to sell it for years. This is his only hope. Is that what, in summary, you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, that's okay. So in summary, you've owned the property for many years. Your family has, you've tried to sell it for many years, and this is your only hope to sell your property?
Absolutely.
Okay.
He said, absolutely, and the building looks good. You just have to state. Anybody else from the public?
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any other questions or discussions on the proposal?
I just one clarification, and I think I had to answer from Ben. That setback is going to be between that road and the apartments, correct?
I'm sorry?
The setback is going to be between the road and the apartment.
Setback, that's easy for me to believe.
For the one we're considering now, first one.
In the property.
So the rear setback is from the property line shared with the apartments to the building, so to the back of that building, not
Show
to
me
the
here.
drive.
So it's not going to be here.
So it will be from this property line to where they're proposing the building, which is somewhere here.
But where's the variance on?
The variance is to have a smaller width setback than what would typically be required
From here?
from this red property line.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. I would agree with that, but if it would ever, about
Okay.
the apartment, then I wouldn't be for it.
So we have closed public comments now. You'll be able to talk on the next one because we'll reopen them. So my understanding is the variance request, and it's written down here, is 14.5 feet from the minimum 50-foot setback. And now I also read that there were in other locations that aren't necessarily in this zone district, some of the setback requirements are they only 40 feet?
So there's a difference within the general commercial zoning district. If you are adjacent to other commercial or non-residential uses, the setback is reduced. If you're adjacent to residential uses, then an additional 10 feet is added. And so what I suggested, if the ZBA is not comfortable with granting the full setback variance, an alternative would be to hold them to the standard of commercial next to commercial uses, which would be a slight reduction in the width of their building there by a few feet.
I think what I'm looking at this, it's a beautiful building, it's a great design, it's way better than what's there. Some of the things that I'm looking at is the landscaping that we would have to put in, and if we reduced that setback, I don't know if that would reduce some of the landscaping that's going to go on the front of the building, as because now we're taking away room in the rear of the building. In which case, I think when you talk about what you'd like to see from Van Dyke, is you want to see something that looks nice.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're working on. And I don't want to take away from Van Dyke and prevent you from building your building by reducing the rear setback.
Well, we see them as two, variance one, applying to the rear, we see that as a different item than the front, because there's different reasoning involved with each of them. We think we can still satisfy and provide a nice screen on that east side. So this initial variance request would not really be a detriment to the landscaping.
My name's Mike Magnoli. I own Michelangelo Construction and Stonecrest. And for building here in 25 years, we've built commercial, we've built apartments, office buildings, subdivisions. We have 6 variances. I don't want to come up every single time and bother you, but whatever landscaping, Kayla, Mike Kozak, Dana, whatever it is you need in landscaping, it's only trees and foliage. The reason for that berm, it's not wide enough. So whatever you guys want for the landscaping, that's a no-brainer. When you get to bricks and mortar, that's where the money's at. And the cost of the property and the cost of building now, that's difficult. But whatever it is you want for landscaping, consider it done. We'll grant that 100%, irregardless.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I was holding back. Here we go. I was holding back. Here we go. I wasn't going to say it. Oh, that's great.
All right, any other questions? I'm going to make a motion. Make sure I make the right motion with all these here. is correct.
So did you notice our cover sheet has just the one? The cover sheet says new business 8C, but it doesn't have a cover sheet for like 6 votes. Do you guys kind of notice that in your packet?
No, it's all,
They're all in the, we got 6 of them.
each agenda item is,
Yeah, right. Each have their own.
Right, but look, this is what I'm seeing. I'm probably wrong, but why is it like this? And then they got them all there.
Pardon me? Motion?
When I go and buy each one, I got them separate.
The very first one.
I printed it from
All right.
it. Is it not on it?
I'm gonna try to pull it up, but I can't
Very
usually.
first item.
If you go to each agenda item,
Well, in fact,
they're
it's
in
right
each
here.
agenda item individually. So if you click on 8.A, you'll see there should be a location with the roll call.
And if you can't get it from your Civic Plus account, maybe try from the Township website.
Okay.
Might be easier.
I
to
only
pull.
get the one on my Civic.
It's on here.
It's okay.
All right.
I have the summary of variance from Kayla that I can see, no problem.
See, it's on here.
Is Ben seeing it? I mean,
Yeah, there should just be.
So I went into the Civic to pull it.
These went separate, yeah.
Considering what's there and how long it's been vacant, I'm going to make a motion to approve the request for parcel number 24-04-14-100-010 for a variance from the Washington Township zoning ordinance, Article 3.0 zoning districts, Section 3.11, 3.1.11, general commercial D, development standard setbacks, minimum rear yard setbacks adjacent to a residential 50-foot, and allow a variance in the amount of 14.5 feet from the minimum 50-foot required rear yard setback. This decision was based on the criteria outlined in the Washington Township zoning ordinance, Section 7.9E, Zoning Board of Appeals variance review procedures. Practical difficulty and hardship. Strict enforcement of a 50-foot rear yard setback would significantly limit the usable building area due to the lot's depth, existing utility constraints, and required front and side setbacks. This is unique circumstances. The property is uniquely impacted by its shallow depth, surrounding roadway, and the infrastructure and utility corridors, along with a septic field. Therefore, these constraints affecting the rear yard were established prior to the applicant's ownership based off the other properties that are along Van Dyke. The request reduction represents the minimum relief necessary, and therefore, because we talked about the vegetation and the screening and the green space and how you're going to develop it, granting the variance maintains orderly development, gets rid of a field, and puts more business on Van Dyke, therefore preserving Washington Township's intent.
Second.
I would approve in a second.
Mr. Pollock, second. Go to vote?
Can I get a roll call, please?
Yep. Mr. Kosel?
Yes.
Mr. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Pulad?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mylum, yes.
One down. All right, new business, 8. Bravo, Stonecrest of Washington LLC, Washington Township. Zoning ordinance, Article 5.0, site standards, Section 5.12, off-street parking and loading requirements, golf, off-street parking space layout standards, construction and maintenance. 4, parking area setbacks shall be measured from the center line of each right-of-way road, major 80 feet, property located within the GC and LC zone districts shall be required to add an additional 10 feet the applicant parking area setbacks, Van Dyke. Again, this is for parcel 24-04-14-100-010, location vacant land, east side of Van Dyke, south of 30 Mile Road. Again, just to give a summary of the second variance request, we're looking for a minimum parking area setback. The variance request in the amount of 14 feet from the minimum 80 feet required ordinance. Is there anything you can just state about that one? About
Yeah, the
variance
front,
number two,
the front
what you're asking
parking
for?
setback, we required this variance to put parking in front of this building. There's really insufficient, room to get anything more than a drive lane. And then we would be back to that site plan, which, was previously proposed and then discarded. So this allows us to park in the traditional sense along the fronts of the retail stores, and then we've got an opportunity still to put landscape in and probably like a box hedge to trim out that area and make it a neat and clean look.
Okay, I'm going to bring up our DPW director talked about drainage a little bit. So one of the things you're looking to do is with the parking area setback. Can you just talk on the drainage that you're looking at doing? And then we'll talk landscaping, which is going to tie into, it's actually going to tie into the third one, but we can talk about this first.
Yeah, well, we would be handling the water on site, the storm water, and collecting it within the parking area. So that front strip, of 6 feet would tend to drain into the site and over the curb. In a traditional sense, there may be a berm there. In this case, it could be, even a half a foot, minimum 1 foot, rise to a center, and then it could pitch either way. That would all come at the engineering phase, but nothing out of the traditional sense would be proposed.
One of the things in our packet it talked about, this might actually require a 24-foot variance request. It says that an extra 10-foot setback is required for properties in the GC district. Parking area setback applying to the site is 90 feet.
Yeah, so this was actually adjusted on their site plans. I don't know if the updated made it into the packet, but the site plan that's on the screen here shows that the 90-foot is required. It is a larger variance because there's an extra 10 feet required in the general commercial zone.
So the actual request would be for 24 feet, not just 14 feet
Correct.
to meet this.
And the survey does show the adjacent parking to the north, in a comparable setback to Van Dyke.
Yeah, from our end, the planning end, we didn't have any issues with this because of what's already built on Van Dyke, and also recognizing if that setback was enforced, there's not actually room for a building and a parking area that would meet the dimensions of Washington Township standards, whether it's located in the rear or front. So this for us was clearest cut.
Can you say that one more time, that you were saying that if this was not granted, there would not be?
Yeah, so the depth of the lot is so shallow that to have that 90-foot setback, there's not enough room to have a building and parking, whether it's located in the front or rear. They had initially submitted to the Planning Commission a site plan that showed the parking to the north and the building to the south. And the challenge that we had with that site was that there wasn't actually loading space, and I imagine there were some issues with fire egress too, although we didn't get to that stage of fire review. So that's why they did kind of this turnaround loop for vehicle access. But looking at that and looking at the width that would be left once you remove those setbacks, there's not actually room to meet the configuration, dimensional standards of the ordinance.
You want to read it? The W?
Can the building be moved or downside?
But there was another request from
Rich or what?
our DPW director talking about the building being moved. If it was moved, would that alleviate any of the traffic if they moved it back? Is that what we're trying to understand what they were. If you were to move that building back, would that allow for more parking spots or move it to, I guess, is there any way you can move it if we didn't actually put it in the middle of the back?
The building was placed based on a design that began on the Van Dyke side, you know, to create, you know, an entrance and a view from Van Dyke that would be traditional. And then as we carried that and minimized the size of the building to the extent we could, you know, it resulted in the dimension that we have in the back at 35 and a half.
So reading his comments, I'm going to read through all of them. Can the building be moved or downsized? That would not work either. Number 2, if it was to be downsized, I believe that's what I'm reading. No need for land, curbed foundation, stands,
Is that island?
islands. So that's going to get into the islands when we talk about, I believe that's variance request number 3. Not sure how it'll all fit. Also, the building needs drainage. We talked about drainage. And downsizing. Building needs some work. Has there been anything submitted since the actual, anything different that's changed since the original building plans came forward with the planning commission? It goes back in August, or
Yes.
September?
Yeah, we reduced it from 3 to 2 units. We changed the design of the building slightly because of the depth change. You know, we downsized the building, basically. But yeah, in reading the DPW comments, I believe the numbers that he used were for each of the 6 variances. So he had one comment on this one that said that would not work either. So I wasn't clear on what exactly he was expressing there. But I want to say it was probably agreement with, you know, the 90 foot. It's clearly not working.
Ms. Hall, do you remember anything from on this planning as far as?
No, I do not, I'm sorry.
That's okay. All right. Well, then I'm going to make a motion that we open this up to public comments, and then we'll bring it back, and we'll keep moving. I think we have some people that want to talk this time. 1 second.
Is there a second?
Second?
Oh, thank you. Second.
Hello, my name is Blaga Matowski.
Oh, hang on 1 second. I just have to read it. I have to read it to reopen the public hearing again.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You can move
You
that.
can stay right there just for a second. Okay, again, notice is hereby given that the Washington Township Zoning Board of Appeals will hold public hearing on Monday, February 2nd, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. The boardroom, the Washington Township Municipal Building. The purpose of this meeting is to consider an appeal by Stonecrest of Washington LLC, Mike Magnoli, 59227 Van Dyke, Washington Township, Michigan, 48094. This is number 2, Washington Township Zoning Ordinance, Article 5.0, Site Standards, Section 5.12, Off-Street Parking and Loading Requirements. G, Off-Street Parking Space Layout Standards, Construction and Maintenance. 4, Parking area setbacks shall be measured from the center line of each right-of-way. Road designation, major 80 feet, properly located within the GC and LC loading zones, shall be required to add an additional 10 feet to the applicable parking area setback requirement, Van Dyke. Purpose of this request is to request a variance of the amount of 24 feet from the minimum 90 feet parking setback as measured from the center line of Van Dyke. The property in question is parcel 24-04-14-100-010 east side of Van Dyke, south of 30 Mile Road. All property owners within 300 feet are being notified. Michelle Mylan, Secretary, Washington Township, published January 14th, 2026. Hi.
Hello, I'm Barbara Blaga Matowski, and we're the owners of the Baden House in back of the property that's up front. And we just want to make sure that our property stays where it's at, and the easements, and that's all. And good luck to them.
Do you have any?
We just want to make sure that our property stays where it's at.
All right.
And from the building to the property that they're inquiring, about, that our parking in the front stays the way it is. That's all we ask. And as far as for your venture, good luck.
Oh, that was nice. Thank you.
Yeah. Whatever you decide, it's fine, as long as the width, as long as we get the easements, yeah, yeah. If the easements stay the way they are, and everything else, we're good,
Thank you. Thank you.
yes.
Would you?
I'm
talk a
sure
little bit
you'll
on-
make the right decision, whatever's right to be, so we're okay in the back, and they're doing their stuff in the front,
Thank you.
okay?
Appreciate you being here.
Look,
Yeah, that
thank
was
you.
really nice.
We'll see if we can get your questions answered in just a little bit.
Yes, yes.
John, are you able to talk a little bit on those easements, just a little bit on what you're planning on keeping and
I don't think I've introduced myself. My name is Ben Loy.
can you stand in front of
Yeah,
us so
sure.
they can pick it up on the?
I'm usually loud enough, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
that's fine.
Easy to highlight these. Thank you. I'm Ben Aloya. I've met many of you before. I'm legal counsel for Mr. Magnoli. I've actually talked to Ron, the owner, about this. So the way this is laid out is, and when the Fritzes split the parcels, there's 3 parcels that are one after the other. The front parcel we're dealing with, the apartment parcel, and Prestige. And the way that when they split the parcels, the way that they're doing it, and we'll be preserving those easements when we close is, all 3 parcels will have access to those easements on each side. So if you could picture it, there's 3 parcels in the middle, one stacked atop of the other, and easements that run then kind of adjacent to them, okay? So the one drive easement to the north, I've talked to the owners of the apartments, and we have a letter here from the storage. That's going to remain the same. It's paved. We're going to work out a maintenance agreement. We're going to tap in. We're working out a shared sign, so, because that sign there's been there for a long time, but it was never permitted by the township. So we're going to work all that out. We're really excited about that. The one to the south is really used by the apartment complex, just a gravel drive, but that easement remains, and their right to use it remains, so that's not going to be changed. They have the right to use the easement. It might have varied a little bit over the years with some gravel, but they'll work that out, make sure that the apartment complex has access. I think they use it for their dumpsters, according to the apartment owners, and maybe a bus runs through there or something, but we understand that. It'll be outside of our septic area, and I'm sure it'll be fine. So, Mr. Magnoli, wants to be a good neighbor. He wants to figure this out and work out something for everybody, so.
Thank you.
That was the one I was talking about earlier, the footprint that we got on our aerial showed that it was part of your complex, but
Yeah.
actually it wasn't.
It's not, it's like,
Right.
it's 50 feet. It might have like migrated a little bit in terms of the path
Right.
over time, but that'll be figured out. That's,
All right.
yeah, because if you could see where our septic is, really the area beyond that would remain natural, and then you've got that easement there on that side, so.
Yeah, I understood that once that was the road I was talking about
Yeah.
earlier.
I think they use it really for their dumpsters and maybe the bus or something. Something runs back there once in a while.
It's good to have two ways of going out of there.
Yeah, the school bus, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So it's not a paved drive, it's just a gravel
Right.
dirt path sort of thing, but yeah, they'll figure it out.
All right, any other questions, any other discussion?
You can make a motion to close public hearing?
No. Yes. Make a motion to close public hearing? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Of course.
These are all blending into each other.
Troy, you want to make the motion?
Yeah, make a motion.
You want me to? Okay, you will.
I guess I have one more question.
Sure.
There seems to be a lot of variances, and it seems like it's going to be awfully hard to comply with all the variances. is there any consideration in possibly downsizing? Or let's just go through the variance process?
We've landed at the end of our road here with the request for variances. If we started out and began and created a building that fell within the minimal building envelope that was there, we wouldn't have a development. And I think that's why the property has been vacant for so many years. And some of these, variances are really just to bring us in line with the other properties that developed on the west side and to the north and south of us. So we're just looking for something that would allow us to have a workable use here and otherwise make it an attractive property.
You're going to be putting in these two buildings, they're going to be side by side.
It's one building.
One building, but two
Two doors.
doors. Do you have tenants? Do you have, what's going in there? Do you have any kind of ideas?
We have one tenant on the
You have to go up there, sir. Thank you for going up there.
Sure. We have one tenant that's wanting to sign if this goes through, and we're talking with another one. So one's office use, one's a design group, so they're looking to come in, but we can't represent that. We can give them something if we don't get the variance. So we went from 3 units downsized, with the cost of the land, if Mr. Fritz would give it to us cheaper, but, the cost of the land, brick and mortar, everything is so expensive. There's a certain, if we don't get this size, we've spent the year on it, and we've spent a ton of money with engineering, attorneys, easements. We've spent a lot of time in this, but we can't go to 1 unit. It doesn't make any sense. So we have.
That's what I was asking. I saw the pictures. They look really nice. I just wasn't sure what was going in there, if you had some idea. You have one,
Yeah.
you got upstairs and downstairs?
No, it doesn't, we don't have enough parking. It's just one floor. We have the Beauty Loft building across the street with the PEA, it's a big enough parking lot. We got 2 floors, an elevator. I have the extra credit union with the dental, 2 floors, because we had a large enough depth for the parking lot, have an elevator, but we're handcuffed here. We got 1 floor, this is it. It's small, but it'll be a good use for that area. The tax revenue is going to be a lot more than just a vacant land, and we've tried everything. We can't put nothing in this glove. This is it. So we hopefully will get through this 6, variances that we're requesting. And with the 3 that may change in the future, we're just doing this because we're on a timeline where we could wait. I could wait 3 or 4 months to go through this after hopefully it changes. But we're on a timeline with Mr. Fritz because we've held him off for a year. He's been very cooperative.
Okay, someone tell me which other properties are in line for what they're proposing. I question that. I'm not opposed to the project, but again, it's a small piece of property based upon what you want to build. My concern is it's not going to fit in that area, too.
Well, with the variances, it will, and that's the purpose. I mean, for every action, there's a reaction. The question was, can you move the building back? But the problem is, then it reduces the setback to the rear building, right? So, what we're looking at, sure, you can look at it one way that we have 6 variances, but with this positioning of this building, it's set perfectly, we believe, because it provides proper security of travel within this unit. So you have, the fire department's going to be happy, they can get around the building. You have enough parking spaces to the maximum amount of our ability. We have a sufficient setbacks. It's not going to meet the ordinance, but again, those parking lots are in line with the property to the north. So we're not asking for anything closer. It's going to meet the requirement with the sidewalk. So it fits. We understand that we need variances from the ordinance to do so, but it actually fits well within the parcel that we have, given it the size that we have.
Like, I understand that you're saying it fits, but you wouldn't be before us if we had all these variances. That's my concern.
Well, and as Mr. Magnoli stated, if we waited, we would have fewer variances, but requesting it now so we can move forward, we are stuck with the current ordinance.
This was not one of the ones that was being reviewed by the township, though, correct? This is not
Correct, variance number 2, there's nothing that's being affected.
I mean, at the end of the day, for me, I just look at what the professional recommendation is whenever I'm conflicted. And since Spalding DeDecker recommends we move forward, and Mr. Fritz has owned the land for so long and tried to make something of it, for me, I lean towards going with Spalding DeDecker.
To answer your question on variance number 2, specifically for the parking setbacks, we did look at some of the adjacent properties, including the Chevrolet dealership to the north, and also the properties across the street. And none of them are compliant right now with the parking setback.
No one is.
So then those comply, basically. I mean, this building would fit with the variances. That's what you're telling me.
It does.
That's what their site plan shows, yeah.
Okay. That's all I want to know.
I think for this one, for me, when I was looking at this, is that if it was not granted, the depth would be too shallow, and you really couldn't put in a parking spot. You couldn't put parking and the building in, as you stated. So I'm going to make a motion to approve the request made for parcel 2404-14-100-010 for variance from the Washington Township zoning ordinance, Article 5.0 site standards, Section 5.12 off-street parking and loading requirements, G, off-street parking space layout standards, construction and maintenance. Parking area setbacks shall be measured from the center line of each right-of-way, road designation, major 80 feet, property located within the GCNLC zoning districts shall be required to add an additional 10 feet to the applicable parking area setback requirement. Van Dyke can allow a variance in the amount of 24 feet from the minimum 90-foot parking setback as measured from the center line of Van Dyke. This decision was based on the criteria as outlined in the Washington Township zoning ordinance, section 7.9E, zoning board of appeals, variance review procedures. 1, practical difficulty and hardship. Strict enforcement would reduce parking efficiency and compromise the circular path you were talking. If it was not granted, the depth was so shallow that it would not be able to provide room for parking and the building, and therefore this would be an unreasonable prevention of using the land as it was zoned for. Stated it's a unique circumstance. The lot's configuration and proximity to the public right-of-way create parking lot limitations. Also saying how that it was also split. Conditions were not self-created, as stated above. If it wasn't granted, the depth would be so shallow that we couldn't put parking and a building there. Therefore, no special privilege has been given. As stated, the other properties in the vicinity of this are not in compliance as well. And therefore, the spirit and intent of the ordinance, I think this was going to allow better buffering and landscaping around the building itself, and therefore is in the spirit and intent of Washington Township's ordinance.
I'll second the motion.
Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Kosel.
Yes to approve.
Mylum, yes. Mr. Pollak.
Yes.
Mr. Pulled.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Moving on to new business, 8.C, Stonecrest of Washington LLC, Washington Township Ordinance, Article 5.0 Site Standards, Section 5.12 Off-Street Parking and Loading Requirements. J, Parking Lot and Frontage Landscaping Requirements. 1, Interior Parking Lot Landscaping. B, all off-street parking areas shall incorporate and provide curbed tree planting spaces. C, trees shall be planted throughout the parking area. Parcel number 2404-14-100-010. Location, the vacant land east side of Van Dyke, south of 30 Mile Road. All right. And in summary, we're talking about some of the landscaping now that's involved, and there is some things that are changing with Washington Township. Can you discuss specifically what they've requested, or what's going to be brought before the board?
So, and I think I misspoke earlier, variance number 3, there's nothing changing in the ordinance that really affects this one other than tree species, which they haven't proposed a certain variety of tree at this time. So nothing on this variance that's going to be impacted. But the applicant is requesting a variance from all of the curbed parking lot tree landscaping in the parking lot that's typically required.
For me, this is part of the buffering, part of the give back is that we want it to look nice and that you're requesting to do, none of it. And then some of this is gonna look, I feel like if you don't put any of the landscaping in, it's gonna look outdated. I mean, it's a beautiful building that you have, that you're building. So can you talk a little bit about, is there any way you can put any landscaping, maybe in corners or in any other locations?
Like the blanket statement originally, whatever it is you want, it's only trees, bushes, doesn't matter to me. Let's make it look nice. The nicer it looks, the higher I get rent. I mean, there's no issues with that at all. So whatever it is that you want for your tree species, we'll make it work. There's no, it's not bricks, it's easy to do. So.
Kayla, can you give us the language that we need?
That's nothing that you need to include in the motion at this time because the variance is from the parking lot landscaping islands. They're not going to be providing any of those. If they do, they're going to lose parking spaces and then not be compliant with the ordinance, so.
So Troy, you got it, that you're not talking about the middle, you're talking about the edges, right?
Right, I'm trying to figure out, yeah.
Yeah, we would review that at the planning commission level.
Yeah. And we just highlighted in green on the display there where there would be either lawn or landscape on this site. So the entire perimeter of that lot is going to be green.
They are required to have frontage trees, which, looking at the right-of-way there, that's probably going to be going between the parking and the pathway. So that will provide some of the screening as well.
Because how many properties, as I was going through there, I didn't really see many properties that did have
The islands?
a lot of islands in there.
It's like we don't have an island here in this building.
Usually see them when you've got a sea of parking and you've got internal parking. This is all along the perimeter, so it's really not going to achieve much. I think you'll have
Here
a
at a
cleaner look
hospital.
here if it's consistent across the front.
So your islands are going right where your parking spots
Well,
are?
they're not having islands.
If they
They'll
were,
be-
they would have to.
They'll be anchoring each side of the parking rows that you see there.
On the side, at the ends?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this will be in keeping with like Hampton House, I'm guessing. We don't have islands in Hampton House,
Similar, yes.
but we have beautiful marquee on each side.
I look at Heinerich, which is north, they do have some. They have a large lot.
Yeah.
They have them in the back. But when you look at the front, you don't see any of that greenage that's back there.
Yeah, because it was a different phase. So the
Right.
original phase, when it was approved, we didn't have that ordinance requirement. When they came back for the bump and paint shop and the other buildings behind, they were required to comply with the ordinance standards.
Page 8 of our letter has the satellite view of a couple parking lots and some consideration there.
Is there going to be any kind of, between that road that's to the south, it's gravel,
The gravel road.
and the end of the septic, is there going to be anything in between there? I know you can't do anything south of your building because that's all septic, but after the septic field, is there going to be something going in there?
Well, I think we have to figure out with that easement, what's
Yeah.
going on the gravel road, so I don't know that that's a priority. I think we're more concerned about the frontage
It's planning, they said.
and the septic. Maybe
Or we
sod.
sodded, okay.
Maybe
Yeah,
sod,
it has to
yeah.
be.
Okay.
But I don't know about trees. I mean, that might not be.
'Cause I know you can't do nothing by your septic or distribution box and all that, but
And you don't want
to the west you
getting
can.
into your septic.
No, that's why I said you want to stay by the building there to the north.
Going through the report, and one of the items stated on page 8 is that landscape islands have been provided within parking areas on some of the larger sites within the district, including Heidenreich, just north of the site. However, landscaping islands are not common on smaller parcels within the district. That's across Van Dyke from the subject site.
We have the perfect example with the Hampton House. Do you want to do public comment on this item?
Let's open up public comments.
Make a motion to open up public comment?
All right, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye. Did we run out of audience members? Do you want to talk again? No. You're good. You got to read that whole thing.
Yes. Let me read the whole thing here in a second. Find it. Put it. All right. Notice of public hearing, Charter Township of Washington Township Zoning Board of Appeals. Notice is hereby given that the Washington Township Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Monday, February 2nd, 2026 at 6:30 PM at 57900 Van Dyke, Washington Township, Michigan 48094 in the boardroom at Washington Township Municipal Building. The purpose of this meeting is to consider an appeal by Stonecrest of Washington LLC, Mike Magnoli, 59227 Van Dyke, Washington Township, Michigan 48094. By reason of Washington Township Zoning Ordinance, Article 5.0, Site Standards, Section 5.12, Off-Street Parking and Loading Requirements. J, Parking Lot and Frontage Landscaping Requirements. 1, Interior Parking Lot Landscaping. B, all off-street parking areas shall incorporate and provide curbed tree planting spaces to be laid out, square and constructed to provide not less than 144 square feet of land area for each tree planting. These curbed islands shall be planted with sod, landscape, rock, gravel, or other similar material is prohibited and shall not be less than 8 feet in width. And C, trees shall be planted throughout the parking area. The purpose of this request is to request a variant to not construct curbed landscape islands within the interior of the parking area. The property and location is parcel number 24-04-14-100-010, east side of Van Dyke, south of 30 Mile Road. All properties owners within 300 feet are being notified. Michelle Mylan, Washington Township ZBA, published January 14, 2026. Does anybody want to speak? Okay.
You got to say it louder.
Mr. Pollock makes a motion to close.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
So when I was looking at, going through all these proposals, I thought a lot about downsizing this building. This building could be downsized. Something else could go there. But it's been vacant a long time. Nobody's offered to put something there. To me, this seems like a reasonable use of the land. Seeing what's going to be built, hoping it's landscaped so that it blocks everybody's working with neighbors. There hasn't been anybody from the public coming in and protesting this project. I think if both-
Sidewalk.
There's a sidewalk going in.
And the neighbor actually said she's happy.
Right.
It's-
Not looking at the field, so hearing a neighbor come through and say that they were in support of this. I mean, to me, it's all about looks and the aesthetics. And when people drive by, that they don't think that it's a building that was built in 1970. They see it as something nice and part of the neighborhood, part of the community. And I don't think that field is what we're looking for there. We talk about maintaining green space, and I don't think that's one of the green spaces we're pushing to maintain.
Or the brown sign that gives us tetanus when you look at.
Stalls. Like to, I'll make a motion to approve the request made for parcel 24-04-14-100-010 for for variance from the Washington Township zoning ordinance, Article 5.0, site standards, Section 5.12, off-street parking and loading requirements, J, parking lot and frontage landscaping requirements, 1, interior parking lot landscaping, B, off-street parking areas shall incorporate and provide curbed tree planting spaces to be laid out square and constructed to provide not less than 144 square feet of land area for each tree planting. These curbed islands shall be planted with sod, landscape, rock, gravel, or other similar material is prohibited, and shall not be less than 8 feet in width, and C, trees shall be planted throughout the parking area, and allow a variance to not construct curb landscape islands within the interior of the parking area. This decision was based on the criteria outlined in the Washington Township zoning ordinance section 7.9E, zoning board of appeals variance review procedures. Strict enforcement, full compliance would interfere with parking, circulation, and access ways. Unique circumstances, as we talked about the site size and how it's been split. Compact site limits landscaping for a building and parking. Because conditions are not self-created, the hardships arise from the ordinance standards applied to this parcel. Because and there are constraints to the amount of landscaping that can be done in the parking lot. This is not a special privilege. There is still landscaping that is proposed on the site. Also, many of the smaller parcels located in this area do not have islands as well. Due to the building that's being proposed and the landscaping that we're going to talk about on the perimeter, there will be some visual relief. And because of the small size of the parking lot, I believe that this is and it's removing a field that's been vacant for an extended period of time. I believe that this is in the spirit and intent of the Washington Township ordinances.
Okay, so we have a motion by Kosel, seconded by Pollock. Roll call, Kosel,
Yes to approve?
Pollock,
Yes, to
Mylum, yes. Poled,
No.
Hall,
Yes, to approve.
motion carried.
Motion carries. All right. New business. All right. Washington Township, this is new business 8D, Stonecrest of Washington LLC, Washington Township zoning ordinance, Article 5.0, site standards, Section 5.12, off-street parking and loading requirements, J, parking lot and frontage landscaping requirements, 2, parking lot screening, frontage landscaping and landscaping of buildings, A, parking lot screening, a minimum 3-foot high naturally rolling berm shall be provided between the outer edge of all parking lots and the roadways, and the road right-of-ways. This is the parcel number 24-04-14-100-010. Specifically, when we talk about this proposal, we're asking for a variance request for the minimum 3-foot height berm between the parking lot and the road right-of-way required by ordinance to have a 7-foot wide landscaping area. I missed something. Is that right?
You're on number
Oh, that's
4.
good. You're on 4.
So this is for the 3-foot high
This is how-
berm
yeah.
between.
So I read all that for practice. We didn't put the order out. That's right. We're only on,
You had the right.
I can give a recap of this one.
yeah, can you give me?
Yeah.
Mind? Thank you.
No, you are okay. So this is variance number 4 out of 6. This is for the parking lot screening berm. So ordinance does require a 3-foot high naturally rolling berm between the road right-of-way and the start of the parking lot spaces. However, once they dedicate that 60-foot ultimate right-of-way to Macomb County Department of Roads, there's only 6 feet remaining between their proposed parking area and the edge of the right-of-way. That's not enough space mathematically to provide that 3-foot-high naturally rolling berm. So they cannot meet that ordinance requirement with the variance that was approved for the parking setback just previously.
Okay. And because there's not the room for it, does any other parcels in this packet, since I'm scrolling through, any other parcels that aren't meeting that, or any other,
No, there are very few that have that berm. I believe the car dealership, I don't even think the car dealership does. There's one office building to the north that has a berm, but I don't think it's 3 foot high. It's kind of a minimized height. But no, in general, most of this corridor was developed before that standard was in place.
the variance request, so you said for the 3-foot-high berm between the parking lot and the right-of-way, they read it right, so what would be the, I guess, let's just talk about what are you proposing there instead? So you want a relief from the full 3-foot berm?
That's correct, and that is because of the proximity of the parking to the right-of-way to have a usable site, but also the septic field on the south end. You would need about 23 to 25 feet to put in a 3-foot-high berm and plant it. You know, we're not trying to hide the building that we're looking to invest in here, but rather just to screen the headlights of the parking primarily that would be across the front. And we feel we can do that with greenery as opposed to a massive rolling 3-foot-high berm, which, you know, was the traditional requirement, but most suitably probably for residential developments that front on major roads, not within commercial corridors like Van Dyke.
If we end up putting water in there too in the future, just be messing that whole thing up anyways, wouldn't we?
All right, and there's no water there currently, there's no water lines?
There's water on the west side of Van Dyke
Just on the
currently.
west side?
Yeah, so if we go there, that berm would be,
And if there was no berm, what would actually go there? If there was no berm.
We would provide a green screen at approximately 3-foot height across the frontage.
Would that be permissible under the planning commission then?
Yeah, so their variance request is only from the berm requirement, so the actual
Correct.
height difference, they would need to meet all the same landscaping standards that would generally be allowed under the zoning ordinance.
So that would help visualize the building better too.
Mhm.
Okay.
And is that something we could ask for in the ordinance? And I know Mr. Magnoli said he would do whatever, but putting like, there must be still at least a 3-foot.
So the vegetation is required through the ordinance regardless, so they did not request a variance from those vegetation requirements, only from the berm itself.
from the road to the sidewalk.
Right, which the berm is just
The
that
height.
difference in
Right.
elevation.
It's
So
only a height.
typically, we require them to build a hill. They're asking to not build the hill, but they would still put in the vegetation, which, for example, is the frontage trees that are required every 40 feet is one of our vegetation standards that they did not ask for a variance from.
And it's in keeping with the neighbors, because no one else has a 3-foot berm there.
Correct.
So that would just look like an eyesore.
They could just put trees, bushes or something.
Yeah, that's what they're talking. They would put the green screening and everything, they just don't want to put it on a 3-foot berm. Which technically, that's how all the evergreens die, when they put them on 3-foot berms, and then they don't water them.
Okay, does anybody want to make a motion to open public hearing?
I'll make that motion to open public hearing.
I will
Support.
second that motion. Or did Mr. Polite second? Did you second?
That's fine, yes.
Okay. All right, notice of public hearing. This is Stonecrest of Washington LLC, Mike McNolly, 59227 Washington Township, Michigan, 48094. Washington Township Ordinance, Zoning Ordinance, Article 5.0 Site Standards, Section 5.12 Off-Street Parking and Loading Requirements, J, Parking Lot Frontage, Landscaping Requirements, Parking Lot Screening, landscaping, and landscaping of buildings. A, parking lot screening. Minimum 3-foot-high naturally rolling berm shall be provided between the outer edge of all parking lots and the road right-of-way. The purpose of this request is to request the variance to not construct a minimum 3-foot-high berm between the parking lot and the road right-of-way. Property in question is parcel 24-04-14-100-010, location east side of Van Dyke, south of 30 Mile Road. All property owners within 300 feet have been notified. Michelle Mylan, Secretary, Washington Township, ZBA, published January 14, 2026. Apparently I can read that faster somehow. I'll figure that out. Anybody from the public would like to speak?
I close the public hearing.
All right, I have a motion to close. Second. All in favor?
Aye. Kayla, did you say this, the last one superseded the need for this one? Is that what you were saying?
For this one, no, we do have some things that are going to affect the parking lot screening, but not the berm requirement as of right now. It's 5 and 6, the next two, where we have a few things.
Okay. Some of the unique considerations that were brought up is this is the smallest parcel that is in the GC loaning district between 29 and 30 Mile Road. The proposed site construction cannot accommodate the 18-foot needed for a 3-foot-high berm. I think when you see the depth, and we've talked about the depth, that 18 feet is not feasible. Many of the other properties have not done this. Therefore, I'm going to make a motion to approve the request for parcel number 24-04-14-100-010 for a variance from the Washington Township zoning ordinance, Article 3.0, zoning districts, Article 5.0, site standards, Section 5.12, off-street parking and loading requirements. J, parking lot and frontage landscaping requirements. 2, parking lot screening, frontage, landscaping, and landscaping of buildings. A, parking lot screening. Minimum 3-foot-high naturally rolling berm shall be provided between the outer edge of all parking lots and the road right-of-way, and allow a variance to not construct the minimum 3-foot-high berm between the parking lot and the road right-of-way. This decision was based on the criteria as outlined in the Washington Township zoning ordinance, Section 7.9 Echo. Zoning Board of Appeals variance review procedure. Practical hardship. The berm could conflict with underground utilities. It's going to limit the reasonable usage of the land as it is zoned for commercial. There are unique circumstances. As stated, there is not room for this 18-foot berm and a reasonable use of the building that's being proposed. The conditions were not self-created. There's still no water there. There's still septic there, which limits their use of the land. This is not a special privilege, as very few other properties, including Heidenreich Chevrolet, which is a very large property, have not taken this into effect. And because of the spirit and intent of the ordinance, and because visual buffering shall still be there and maintained, they're not requesting a variance on that. Therefore, it's within the intent and spirit of the ordinances outlined in Washington Township.
Support.
Hey, can I get a roll call?
So, Kosel,
Yes to approve?
Hall,
Yes to approve.
Pollock,
Yes to approve.
Poled,
Well, yes to approve.
Mylum, yes to approve.
All right. Let's continue. All right, motion carries. Continuing on. We are 5. We're 5. All right. New business. 8 Echo, Stonecrest of Washington LLC, Washington Township zoning ordinance, Article 5.0, site standards, Section 5.12, off-street parking loading requirements. J, parking lot and frontage landscaping requirements. 2, parking lot screening, frontage landscaping, and landscaping of buildings. C, landscaping of buildings wherever a building construction which abuts a drive, service aisle, road, or other means of access or maneuvering, a minimum of 7 feet of landscape area shall be provided around the equivalent of 3 sides of the 75% of the building. Going back and forth like this.
So I'll just start with a quick summary of how the proposed amendments could potentially change this in the future. Their site wouldn't be fully compliant, but closer to compliance than it is today. The amendments that were proposed were to change this requirement so that only sides of the building that are adjacent to those drive aisles or service access lanes would be required to be landscaped. And rather than requiring a 7 feet landscaping buffer for the entire length of that facade, it would only be required for 50% of the facade, and it'd be reduced to 5 feet, and intended to be more of a kind of small, shrubs, flowers, landscaping. Today, the ordinance requires trees right up against the building, which really isn't practical. So these standards have come before the ZBA in the past because applicants really struggled to meet them. The Planning Commission recognized that there was an issue with this standard and is one they're looking to address.
There used to be the trees up against the building. Or that.
And you're saying other builders have had this issue that it's a difficult.
Correct.
Right. When I look at the variance that is being requested here, for variance number 5, applicant is requesting a variance from the building landscape standards for 2 sides of the building. The applicant proposes 12-foot wide landscaping at the north side of the building. Can you just review what landscaping requirements, or what landscaping you're planning on doing on which sides?
On the north side of the building, we would look to meet the ordinance requirement for landscaping and possibly exceed it. This green area that you see between the entrances would be that north side. The other sides of the building, the west and the south, have a walk that folks can get on and get out of the drive lane to approach the entrances of the building. And of course, in the rear, there's, some access doors as well. And just enough room for, fire lane exit. So we're looking for relief from 2 of those sides. Would note that on the sides of the building, you can see that there are windows and some decorative veneer that we wouldn't necessarily want to hide either.
That's the north side? South side?
That would be both, this is the north elevation here.
Right.
And then the bottom one would be the one that's.
And this is the south.
Facing the road, facing Van.
There's the south side.
Yeah, so both sides, half of it
The
would
prototype.
be,
Yeah, beautiful.
with
And where was the
windows.
walkway? You said there was the walkway that you're proposing, it's going to go through the front?
Yes, going back to the site plan, we do have a walk on 2 sides of the building. That way, folks parking on the south end could
Makes sense.
walk next to the building. And the windows on that south side are kind of inviting another front, but the fronts will face Van Dyke.
Should we go to public comment?
Anybody have any questions before we go to public hearing? I'll make a motion, we open the public hearing.
Mark?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, notice is hereby given that the Washington Township Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing for Stonecrest of Washington LLC, Mike Magnoli, 59227 Van Dyke, Washington Township, Michigan, 48094. For Washington Township Zoning Ordinance, Article 5.0 Site Standards, Section 5.12 Off-Street Parking and Loading Requirements. J, Parking Lot and Frontage Landscaping Requirements. 2, Parking Lot Screening, Frontage Landscaping. And landscaping of buildings. C, landscaping of buildings wherever a building is constructed which abuts a drive, service around, abuts a drive, service aisle, road, or other means of access maneuvering. A minimum of 7 feet of landscaping area shall be provided around the equivalent of 3 sides of the 75% of the building. To request a variance in the amount of 2 sides of the building from the required minimum 3 sides of the building, having a 7-foot wide landscaping area. This is for parcel 24-04-14-100-010, east side of Van Dyke, south of 30 Mile Road. All property owners within 300 feet are being notified. Michelle Mylan, Secretary, Washington Township, ZBA, published January 14th, 2026. I'll make a motion to close public hearings. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay, I just want to make sure, you're still planning on landscaping on 2 sides of the building, just not 3? Or is it a reduction?
Well, immediately adjacent to the building, it would just be the north side. So one of 3.
One of the 3.
So a variance from 2 sides. Certainly wouldn't want to put it along the front and then on that south side with our glass and that.
You have it on the front, and it wouldn't be against,
Yeah.
basically either of the other sides, one that would be where the apartment complexes are, or where Heinrich Chevrolet is.
So we would effectively be requesting additional variances on those other items if you had to put in a 7-foot wide landscape area, which the new ordinance will reduce to 5 foot as we understand it, and only 2 sides as opposed to 3.
In the front, would you still be meeting the 7 foot, or would you reduce that down to the 5 foot?
In the front, we have a 7-foot walk, which there may be some sort of planters and such along the front, but it would not be a 7-foot landscaped area in the front.
This is the north side when you pull in from the driveway. That's what we're talking
Oh,
about.
that's where the 7
That's
foot,
where the
that's
7
where you're making.
We would exceed 7 foot, yeah, we're 20 feet there.
Okay.
Are you able to pull back up what the front of that building, what you're proposing the front of that building looked like? It's a really sharp building.
Yeah, so there's some room between the window sections there too. But with the decorative stone at the bottom, really nothing is needed in terms of aesthetics.
Something to planting some vegetation.
They're gonna change the landscape there of that building, isn't it? Wow.
And this is consistent with the nearby uses as well.
Looks like the PA building. Looks like the Beauty Loft building, the PA building.
Yeah.
So it matches.
I do worry that on Van Dyke, as nice as that building is, without any sort of, I mean, we'll still have the frontage.
You will have landscape, in close proximity to this, in front of that parking area, which will knock down, the view of the parking, and you will see, the building behind that green front.
By the sidewalk, right?
Yeah.
By the sidewalk.
So you only have one row of parking and a driveway before you're at the building.
And when you look at your traffic pattern right now, looking in the parking lot, you have two-way in front of it, entering off the road, that north road.
Yep.
Two-way on the south, and then is that just a one-way traffic?
Yeah,
On the
it's
east side
consider
of
that an exit only on the east side of the building, in the rear. So there would be signage for no entry into that from the north drive.
On the west side of the building and the south side, you have that, what John refers to as the walkway. That's also in lieu of putting bollards around the building, so you're going to have like you walk up to any center, you're going to have a step to get up to the building, but that step keeps the vehicles from going into the buildings. When we do our industrial buildings, we got to line the buildings with bollards. This won't look good to put steel bollards around the building, so we have in the parking lot area that step for the pedestrians to keep them out of harm's way from the vehicles, but so somebody doesn't back up out of their space and end up in the building. So that's why we have the walkway around it.
Thank you.
We close.
Yep, closed.
And as we understand it, the ordinance change to two sides considers that you're not going to landscape the front or the rear of a retail building typically.
Just to clarify, it would change it so any face of the building adjacent to those drive or service aisles would have to be landscaped. It's just that you only have to landscape 50%
50%
versus
of
having it for the
the length.
full face, yeah. So then you could put in planter boxes or something around the entrances.
Is it-
Which they
when
may
you say
choose to do.
50%, is that 50% of the total area? Or is that 50%, like 50% of the front and 50% of that north side, or would it just be 50%?
Correct, the latter. So 50% of each of those facades that's adjacent.
you're
And that's the
proposing-
future ordinance.
That's a
Right.
future ordinance. you're
And again,
looking-
hasn't gone through public hearing.
You're proposing landscaping 100% of that north side, correct? So
The north side, we
Still
will
not.
exceed what's required.
still not 50%, but I'll go back to where I stated that it was tough. It was like putting a building in something that, we could definitely put a smaller building in. I think but as far as, would somebody put a smaller building in? Would anybody come down and actually develop that land, or would it stay as a vacant field for another 10, 20, 30 years? It's a nice location. I think it's desirable. I just don't think you would need the right person to put that in, and I think this is a nice idea. Talked about what landscaping is being done. And how far is that north landscaping? That's the depth from the north to the building? It's about
20 feet, and of course, it's about 60 in depth from west to east.
just the direction that I'm going with all this. I'm going to continue to make my motions then. Feel free to, if you don't agree, to vote no. But I'm going to continue with my motions. I'll make a motion to approve the request made for parcel 240414100010, or variance from the Washington Township zoning ordinance, Article 5.0 site standards, Section 5.12, off-street parking loading requirements. J, frontage landscaping and landscaping buildings, landscaping of buildings. Wherever a building is constructed which abuts drive, service aisle, road, or other means of access or maneuvering, a minimum of 7 feet of landscaping area shall be provided around the equivalent of 3 sides of 75% of the building, and allow variance in the amount of 2 sides of the building from the required 3 sides of the building, having a 7-foot wide landscaped area. This decision was based on the criteria outlined in the Washington Township Zoning Ordinance 7.9E, Zoning Board of Appeals variance review procedures, strict enforcement, or practical difficulty. Again, without allowing something to go in there, we're going to be stuck with a vacant field. We're going to prevent it from being reasonably used as zoned. And 50% of the facade is going to be reduced to 5 feet, 50% of facade and 5 feet as opposed to the 75%, 7 feet. So there's already talks in the works about maybe altering this ordinance. The building orientation, it is unique, that it creates site-specific constraints as well as allowing public vehicles to pull through. This condition is not self-created. It's a vacant field. That's the smallest parcel located from 29 to 30 Mile Road inside this district. There's no special privilege being given. The building remains consistent with the surrounding development. Talking about trees up against the building may not be practical, and other people have had hardships with this and probably been given some relief. Therefore, based off the design of the building, based off it's not going to be a vacant field, I believe that the public-facing facades and the remaining landscape that you're going to put in and the design of the building is within keeping the spirit and intent of the ordinance. I have a second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Kosel, seconded by Pollock. Roll. Kosel,
Yes to approve?
Pollock,
Yes, to approve.
Coled,
Yes to approve.
Paul,
Yes, to approve.
Mylum, yes. Motion carries.
All right. Okay, new business. 8F, Stonecrest of Washington, LLC, Washington Township Zoning Ordinance, Article 5.0 Site Standards, Section 5.13 Environmental Provisions. C, Screening Requirements. 1, screening alternatives for each intensity/impact classification are as follows. B, Major 1 and 2. B, 2A, a minimum buffer zone of 20 feet shall be maintained between the protected use and the more intense use. This is for parcel number 240414100010, vacant land east side of Van Dyke, south of 30 Mile Road. I think I have that memorized better than my actual address to my house.
You're doing great.
Right. Specifically, when talking about this variance request, this is a variance request in the amount of 5 feet from the minimum 20 feet of width required by the ordinance for screening adjacent to the multifamily use homes. Can you talk a little bit about the,
Yeah, I'll add to this one. So the original request was for the 5-foot variance from the 20-foot wide greenbelt requirement for the major greenbelt screening. They would also need, with that, a variance from the berm requirement. It doesn't need to be noticed as a separate variance because they requested the variance from the major greenbelt, but just make sure that that's in the motion. With that reduced width of the greenbelt, they can't actually fit a 3-foot high berm. So the applicant has suggested on one of the previous variance overviews that they're willing to put in a 2-foot high berm, but that's something that you'll want to work into any motion. As far as our ordinance changes, there are a few things that were proposed for the major greenbelt screening, but nothing that impacts the width or the berm at this point. Mostly has to do with the vegetation and also looking at how different uses are treated when they're adjacent to each other. So we have nothing to note on that. Let me see if I'm missing anything else. We did note a few other commercial businesses that are adjacent to residential in this area. Some of them had major greenbelt screening and some of them did not. And we just noted that the intent of this standard is really to block the view of obstructive or undesirable visual elements, and exclude contact between those uses.
Okay. About the 2-foot high berm, so where would that, we could still, you said they had mentioned that we could include a 2-foot high berm, not that I'm too worried about a 2-foot high berm at this point, but can you tell me a little bit about that, where that would be and how that would work?
Yeah, as we look
What
along,
limitations it would,
yes,
it would,
certainly, as we look along that east side, you know, there are some substantial trees there that we're not going to simply want to berm, 2 foot up the side of that tree. However, it would probably be, where feasible, and it looks like, just on a quick look here, that this berm could be located essentially till you reach the pines, and then it might neck down to maybe a 1 foot. But we would work with the, adjacent property owner as well and place those evergreens where it's feasible to supplement what is already there.
and if you see those trees, they're big trees,
Yeah,
they're
they are.
nice trees back there.
Yeah, it's a unique situation where, the residential is actually screening themselves from the future commercial, but it works. And as you go farther south, and of course, we've got the electrical corridor that we have to be mindful of, and there is an easement there as well, which could restrict certain grading and placement of trees, but where possible, we have every interest to screen that appropriately.
Will there be seating out there for whatever building you're putting in there for like food, like picnic tables or something? Is that what you're gonna?
We don't anticipate anything on that east side, no. Strictly screening.
Okay. Some large trees there now, I'm saying, there's, That's nice, right?
All right, gone through this quite a bit.
That's why you gotta do public hearing.
I know. I'm going to make a motion to open public hearings.
Support.
Second, all in favor? All right. Notice is hereby given that the Washington Township Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Monday, February 2nd, 2026. This is for Stonecrest of Washington LLC, Mike Magnoli, 59227 Van Dyke, Washington Township, Michigan, 48094. 6, Washington Township Zoning Ordinance, Articles 5.0 Site Standards, Section 5.13 Environmental Provisions, Screening Requirements. 1, screening alternatives for each intensity impact classification as follows. B, major 1 and 2. B, 2A, a minimum buffer zone of 20 feet shall be maintained between the protected use and more intense use. Purpose of the request is to request a variance in the amount of 5 feet. Did we change it? Is it still 5 feet?
Yes, but we do recommend that you also grant relief from the 3-foot high berm requirement.
2 foot. Gotta mention that.
Yep. All right. To request a variance in the amount of 5 feet from the minimum 20 feet of width required by the ordinance for screening adjacent to the existing multifamily residential use with possible reduction and relief to a 2-foot high berm included instead of the 3 foot. This is for parcel number 240414100010. It's on the east side of Van Dyke, south of 30 Mile Road. Published January 14, 2026. Michelle Milan, Secretary, Washington Township, ZBA. I appreciate you staying here for this whole time. Did you want to come up and?
This was what you were talking about earlier, as far as the landscaping, greenbelt, you understand? Okay. Okay.
All right, well, if they're good, I'm good. I'm going to make a motion to close,
Okay.
make a motion to close.
They won't bother.
If they don't bother him, he won't bother them, is what he said. I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
I'm good with it. I'll second.
All in favor?
Maybe in the future, Mike would be maybe interested in that property.
Well, that could be, Probably not included in the record, but you're welcome to talk off.
You guys can talk later.
Different connection.
All right.
Okay, we, closed.
Okay. Who seconded the motion? We have a motion by
All in
Coles.
favor? Close?
Sorry, he wanted me to.
Thank you very much. Thank you for keeping track. This is,
Roll call. Colsall. That's what he just told me to do.
oh, no, I said no. Thank you for keeping me on track.
Okay.
Yes, no roll call required, unless anybody wants to. All right. I mean, I don't think there's very many more questions left to go, so
No.
I'm going to make a motion. Make sure I make the right motion. If you just make sure I say the part about the berm correctly, please. This is for a motion to approve the request made for parcel number 240414100010 for a variance from the Washington Township zoning ordinance, Article 5.0, Site Standards, Section 5.13, Environmental Provisions, C, Screening Requirements, 1, Screening alternatives for each intensity/impact classification are as follows. B, major 1 and 2. B, 2. A minimum buffer zone of 20 feet shall be maintained between the protected use and the more intense use and allow a variance in the amount of 5 feet from the minimum 20 feet of width required by the ordinance for screening or the screening adjacent to the existing multifamily residential uses. This decision was based on the criteria outlined in the Washington Township zoning ordinance section 7.9E, zoning board of appeals variance review procedures, and will also include relief from a 3-foot high berm to a 2-foot high berm. Okay,
But in areas where existing trees aren't present, because they want to have kind of a meandering, right?
They have easement
Where
there that
feasible.
would, yeah, that would dictate that. But, yeah.
and then I would like to just include, before I make this, that, you know, we're keeping these big trees, or you're keeping these big trees. And we appreciate that. That provides screening. That provides, when you put in some of these, I know I'm in the middle of a motion, but when you put in a lot of these small little trees, they don't really provide the screening that we're looking for when you're talking about preventing the heating of the parking lots and everything from the sun. You have these giant trees, you're keeping them. I think that keeps some of that, prevents some of that buildup. So therefore, as far as practical difficulty, criteria 1, strict enforcement would cause a practical difficulty or hardship. Full compliance would approach on the utility corridors. We'd be removing trees that would not be there. And again, this would prevent a piece of property that has been zoned as commercial from being used reasonably as its intent. Unique circumstances, there is some existing large tree vegetation that's there and is going to be maintained, and therefore the easement has the constraint width. These conditions are not self-created. Utilities and easements, the trees, all of this is there due to how the property was split. There's no special privilege. There is effective screening that is going to be put in. It's going to be ordinance compliant and keeping the spirit and intent of the ordinance. The reduced green belt provides adequate buffering that's going to be put in, and this is within the spirit and intent of the Washington Township ordinances, that we're not going to have a vacant field on one of our major roads that people drive through every day, but there will be business and tax revenue that's collected.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Colsall, seconded by Pollock. Roll call. Colsall,
Yes to approve.
Pollock,
Yes to approve.
Polad,
Yes to approve.
Paul,
Yes to approve.
Mylum, yes to approve. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
233 pages. That was
Good
a,
thing we went digital, though. I don't like digital.
it would have been.
I couldn't tell.
I know, you tried using that.
Congrats.
Nothing to do with that. But, all right, any public comments at
All
this
of our-
time?
all of
Public
this
comments?
Together, it was 233 pages.
We'd have a big stack.
No, I'm glad that we didn't.
All right.
They're gonna make a bill right now, so.
Moving right along, ZBA
Right.
member comments. That was well done. Thank you, Ms. Hall, for participating and jumping in with us. And this was a longer one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of anything that's going on in February. There's a lot of blood drives that are going around inside the community, so if you can give blood, please give blood. There's a blood shortage with the American Red Cross right now. Keep hearing. That's it.
I make a motion to adjourn based on what's going on.
Yeah. Take a second.
Is there support?
Support?
Okay,
All in favor?
aye.
Hold on. Thank you.
So I'm going to try to get out of here.